Welcome back, Defenders. Let's start with the disappointing news first. And I'm disappointed that in the last 3 days, Ukraine did not strike any new Russian oil refineries. They struck some other things, we'll cover that. But here's the good news. Russia's fourth largest oil refinery halts processing unit after drone attack. This is the Ryazan plant located southeast of Moscow. The industry sources in Russia told Reuters the CDU-4 processing unit was urgently halted on Thursday after it caught fire following a drone attack. The unit's capacity stands at 4 million metric tons a year, or about 80,000 barrels per day, accounting for around a quarter of the plant's total capacity. Kinetic sanctions work. This is the path that we've been committed to now for about 3 months. And where do you think we're going to be 3 months from now? Russia can't make this stop. This is the Ryazan refinery located right here. And these refineries, one by one, are going to continue going offline until Russia stops this war. This is kind of a big story from the last 2 days, and this might be a new direction that Ukraine is going in. Russian sources claim Ukraine struck the Belgorod dam. Potentially flooding could affect the border settlements. Now, Russia is already attacking all of Ukraine's dams. The machine houses have been destroyed so that these dams can't produce electricity. So this might be Ukraine shifting their policy and now viewing dams in Russia as fair targets. As long as the Russians are bombing Ukraine's dams, Ukraine might be willing to reciprocate now. So these are the pictures that the Russians have released, and I don't see any missile or drone fragments. I'm not exactly clear how Ukraine did this. The Russians are screaming it was HIMARS, but I don't think Ukraine would do that when they have their own domestically produced weapons, and this is so close to the border. So this is Belgorod, this is Kharkiv, this is Vochansk. The Russians currently about 3 or 4 kilometers deep into this territory. They're still attacking here occasionally. And this dam is located right here. So we can switch to the satellite image. This is the dam that Ukraine decided to target. And there is a fairly significant reservoir behind it. And there's currently flooding. The dam has been breached. One of the spillways is releasing water uncontrollably. This is kind of like a drone video from a distance, but the Russians were willing to release a video showing what the damage looks like. So let's watch this clip together. You can see the spillway here. It is not retaining the water. There's debris falling on top of it, so this looks significant, and the reservoir currently is draining. So it's already drained more than a couple meters, I guess, and this is going to affect farmers. It's going to affect the settlements upstream and downstream, as well as the Russian forces who are still attacking in this region of the map. So I don't know. I don't know what Russia's going to do about this if Ukraine wants to start going after dams. Russia for over 3 years has been bombing Ukraine's dams. Except for the Novokakhovka, none of the rest of them have broken. But I guess this is what we're doing now. Russia can stop this war if they want to save their dams. Ukraine also continues going after electrical substations. Drones strike electrical substation in Russia's Volgograd Oblast for the second time in 2 weeks. Here's the video showing the substation on fire in the distance. I imagine this is costing the Russians money, and it is causing disruptions in power supply to local cities. Ukraine also struck a minor oil depot south of Moscow. Maybe just a single container was on fire, but every drop of oil matters at this point. This is an interesting story. Ukrainian attack spoiled planned Zaporizhia birthday gift for Putin. This has been revealed by The Guardian, but apparently with the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, Technicians were racing to reconnect the plant to Russia's power grid for Putin's birthday. This was, I think, October 7th. However, partisans in the occupied territories sabotaged and destroyed a new high-voltage line in Mariupol, so the Russians were not able to reconnect the power plant to the Russian power grid prior to Putin's birthday, and because the plant went, I think, weeks without being connected to the power supply, the Russians were forced to reconnect it to Ukraine's power grid, which is what they've been trying to flip this power plant over for over 3 years now, and they're still failing to do it. Ukraine has also had a lot of success taking out air defense and radar systems. Ukraine wipes out 2 Russian radars and a Buk M3 in southern Ukraine. This is in the Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Crimea regions, but this is a compilation video showing Ukrainian drone units taking out a Buk surface-to-air missile system and then a Nibu radar station. This thing is worth, I think, tens of millions of dollars. A Russian small landing craft, 3 radars. Ukraine's Ghosts erase Russian defenses in occupied Crimea. Here's another compilation video showing Ukrainian drones taking out an S-400, a P-18 Terek, and another Nibu radar system. Russia can't make this stop. Ukraine is sending basically drone aircraft carriers to the Crimean coastline, and then FPV drones, I think that have fiber optic cables, are launching from the drone boats. They can't be jammed, they can't be disrupted, Russia can't shoot them down, and anything of military value on the Crimean Peninsula is getting absolutely wrecked. Demilitarization of Russia's air defenses continue. New Ukrainian strike disables an S-300-400 launcher under night sky. This video is on YouTube, and it's not specifying where this was, but this is another valuable air defense system going up in flames. I'll link the video down below. Mini Bilohorivka moment as 6 Russian vehicles sink during a failed river push in the Donetsk Oblast. This is the Russians once again sending their soldiers to die in meat assaults, and the weather right now is not conducive for the attack. So this bridge was out, it was destroyed a while ago, and Russia sent armored vehicles on the attack. The vehicles tried to drive through the water and mud to go around the destroyed bridge, and they were annihilated. I'll link the video down below if you want to see the destruction, but this happens every day. It's crazy. Ready to throw anyone to slaughter, Russia sends women to the storm as losses mount near the Pokrovsk area. This is a video, once again, I'll link down below, but these are 2 female Russian soldiers. Potentially they signed contracts and volunteered, but more likely they're female prisoners. They were recruited from a female prison and then sent on a meat assault to die trying to get into the city of Pokrovsk. This is where the Russian military is at. They're press-ganging women to be frontline stormtroopers. And there is real concern here. This is a video posted by a 19-year-old Russian conscript. So people who go to the war zone, these are either reservists who have been mobilized, or they're contract soldiers, they volunteered. But what Russia's been doing for 3.5 years is they're doing their normal conscription, larger amounts than they've done in the past. But they really put a lot of pressure on these children, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Hazing them, bullying them, physically coercing them to sign a contract, so they're now a contract soldier. They're not even waiting for their 1-year conscription service to end before pressuring them. As soon as you're conscripted into the military, day 1 of your conscription, your commanding officer is already pressuring you to sign a contract so you can go to Ukraine and die. So this Russian conscript filmed a video saying he would never sign a contract. If the Russian government produces a contract saying he signed it, he did it under duress. I am Smergin Sergei Nikolaevich. born in 2005. I am recording this video in sound mind. I am serving in the city of Cherbukool in Military Units 15871 of the 90th Tank Division. I declare that I have no desire to and refuse to sign any kind of contract. If a contract appears, allegedly signed by me, it means it happened under psychological or physical pressure. He's going to be in trouble. That's what I think is going to happen. This is an interesting post from Commander Brad Crawford. I saw this on Twitter, and I want to read for you his analysis of what's going on with Russia's frontline forces. I have nearly 2 decades in the U.S. Army and 3.5 years as a volunteer combat advisor in Ukraine. I hear directly from Ukrainian instructors and frontline soldiers the same stories. Russian units going into assaults with only 1 magazine, missing helmets and body armor, vehicles abandoned without drivers, and soldiers who simply refuse to fight. These first-hand accounts prove that the Russian army is not just under pressure, it is collapsing from the inside. The Russian land forces are breaking down completely. Mass shootings inside barracks, troops looting their own dead for gear, and the use of World War II-era ammunition all reveal a force in total disarray. When an army cannot equip, feed, or command its men, it is already lost. The Russian non-commissioned officer corps barely exists, and junior officers are inexperienced and poorly trained. Without that leadership core, units lose organization, discipline, and morale. Logistics are a nightmare, with vehicles out of service, ammunition stockpiles running low, and medical and communication equipment in short supply. Even elite formations are now a shadow of what they once were, forced to rely on untrained conscripts and prison recruits just to fill the ranks. After nearly 2 years of devastating losses, Russia's manpower crisis is impossible to ignore. Recruits are unmotivated, poorly equipped, and sent into battle with little preparation, while the few remaining professionals are exhausted and demoralized. What remains of the Russian army is running on borrowed time, stretched thin and held together only by fear and propaganda. Ukraine, on the other hand, continues to adapt, innovate, and fight with purpose. The contrast could not be clearer. Russia's army is dying from within, and Ukraine's strength, unity, and determination will carry it through to victory. I'm not going to pretend like Ukraine does not have problems. Ukraine has a lot of problems. They don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough weapons, they don't have enough soldiers. But Russia, having had every advantage for 3.5 years, still can't even take the entirety of Donetsk. They're not even close. The difficult cities to take are going to be Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Just to take those 2 cities at the current rate Russia is going, it's going to be another 5 years. Ukraine has the advantage because it's their home turf. They're on the defense. Russia has to find a way to break through, and the opportunity is gone. The Russian forces haven't made any significant progress in the last 1,000 days. The last 1,000 days, the Russian military has only taken an additional 1% of Ukraine's total territory. I'm going to link this video down below if you want to see how bad it is out there. But this is a Russian soldier going on assault, and he's got like a GoPro camera on his helmet, and he's going during the daytime, clear skies, you can see everything. And there's just Russian bodies everywhere. This guy is being told to go forward, and he has to walk over and climb over dozens of his dead comrades. Bodies are not being cleared from the field by the Russians. They just leave them. They don't care. So Russia ultimately is going to lose this war because of their economy. Russian central bank cuts key rate to 16.5% as the economy slows. 16.5% central rate is better than 21, so it is coming down. Businesses have railed against high borrowing costs, which they say are sapping growth and holding the economy back. But the central bank says high rates are needed to bring down inflation that was still above 8% in October, driven by fuel costs and a seasonal jump in food prices. The central bank is essentially stating that next year we may see very severe economic stagnation. This was the opinion of an independent economist. Russia's economy is cooked. This woman, the central banker, she's done a phenomenal job holding it together for 3.5 years, but there's nothing more she can do. Russia's financial reserves are being exhausted. They're running massive deficits. I don't believe inflation is only 8%. It's definitely higher than that, given the rise in fuel costs. There's no coming back from this. The descent has already begun. Russian stocks slide as U.S. sanctions hit oil majors. Last video we talked, Donald Trump and the U.S. Treasury finally introduced new sanctions on Russia. This was on Lukoil and Rosneft. This is how their share prices performed on the Russian stock exchange. Lukoil was down 11% over the week, and Rosneft was down 8%. It's going to get worse because these companies have essentially been blacklisted. They can't do any trading in US dollars anymore. The terminal in New York City is going to track or block anyone that tries to do business with Russia's two largest oil companies. 35% of Russia's oil refinery capacity comes from Rosneft and Lukoil, 30% of its crude oil production, 15 to 20% of its natural gas production. If these sanctions hold, they've been blacklisted. They can no longer operate like normal. Now, the problem with sanctions is you eventually find a way around them. You just redirect through a new shell company or a new individual who's not sanctioned. It's a game of whack-a-mole. But for Russia's two largest energy giants, this is going to be costly to restructure, reallocate, divert, whatever the Russians have to do to keep getting their oil out. So what is Russia's plan to win this war? 3 killed, 32 injured in Kyiv amid Russian drone attack on residential buildings. I'll link the videos down below if you want to hear people screaming as another Russian ballistic missile slams into an apartment building. This is the same building the next day once the fire was put out. A 19-year-old woman and her 46-year-old mother were killed. One more body was found but remains unidentified. 29 people were injured, including 7 children. That was Kyiv. This is the city of Kherson, and the Russians are just indiscriminately shelling the entire city with artillery. There are no valid military targets. It serves no purpose. This is just terrorism. Right now, the Russians are doing to Kherson what they did to Mariupol. Destroy every building, kill every person, wipe it clean, so it's easier for our incompetent military to take. This is the drone video released by the Russians on the other side of the river because they're proud of what they're doing. This is a video inside the city of Kherson as the artillery is just indiscriminately landing everywhere. I can link these videos down below if you want to see how bad it is. Russian missiles hit another kindergarten and kill a rescuer in overnight strikes across Ukraine. A Russian missile left a crater between apartment buildings in Kyiv, while in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, a double-tap strike killed an emergency worker trying to extinguish a fire. Russia loves doing double taps. Kill as many firefighters, police officers, and medics as you can. That is Russia's strategy to win this war. Here is what President Zelensky has to say about the strikes. Last night, Russia attacked Ukraine again, this time with dozens of attack drones and 9 ballistic missiles. There was a missile strike in Kyiv. Sadly, there are killed people. My condolences to their families and loved ones. Dozens of people were injured, and almost every attack against our people now involves combined strikes using ballistic missiles. Since the beginning of the year, Russia has launched approximately 770 ballistic missiles and more than 50 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles against Ukraine. The drones are bad, the Shaheeds, but they're not that effective. Ukraine can easily shoot them down if they have the right teams in the correct locations. But these ballistic missiles and the hypersonic missiles, these are a problem because only modern air defense systems can shoot them down. Ukraine needs Patriots or Iris-Ts for a chance to shoot down a Russian ballistic missile, whereas Gepards and these new interceptor drones can handle the Shaheeds. But this is a problem. Russia is still producing new ballistic missiles, and they're just bombing civilians with them. This is the capital city of Kyiv. This is a power plant that Russia struck with a ballistic missile. Here is the comments from Ukrainian journalist Maria Avdiva. Russia hit Kyiv again with ballistic missiles, no heating at home, powers off for hours, fires across the city. Russia keeps trying to break us, still doesn't know how resilient we became. This is a farmer's market in Kyiv, going on as normal against the backdrop of another fire. If Russia was capable of breaking the spirits of the Ukrainian people and getting them to submit, don't you think it would have happened by now? Almost 4 years into this war? This is a losing strategy for the Russians, and they just keep going. Putin's forcing them to keep going. I also wanted to mention this, but Russia is now striking wind turbines. This was in, I think, near Kramatorsk. But the Russians are now flying drones to destroy wind turbines. They think they're going to win this war by blowing up kindergartens and wind turbines. Let's move on to the politics. I know everyone's going to love this. Trump sanctioned Russia over his frustration with Vladimir Putin. This is what the White House is saying, and this is why everyone should be very cautious about the actions of Donald Trump. Trump is not saying I'm sanctioning Russia because I want Ukraine to win or I want Russia to lose. Trump is taking this personally. He was mad, so he decided to put sanctions on Russia. Trump says, I'm not going to be wasting my time. Trump rules out Putin meeting without Ukraine peace progress. Trump at least wants a ceasefire. So this is what he said, and his language matters, because he is telegraphing to us what he actually thinks and feels.
What will Russia have to do for you to reschedule your meeting with Putin?
We have to know that we're going to make a deal. I'm not going to be wasting my time. I've always had a great relationship with Vladimir Putin, but this has been very disappointing. I thought this would have gone long before peace in the Middle East. I mean, we have Azerbaijan and Armenia. That was very tough. In fact, Putin told me on...
So he's going to start talking about his other made-up peace deals, but Trump keeps saying this should have been over by now. And when he says that, he doesn't care how it ended. He just wanted it to be over by now. The Russians were promising MAGA when Trump came into office in January. Cut off all military aid, shut down Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, and USAID, which was benefiting Ukraine. If the United States just completely abandons Ukraine, the Russian military will overtake and conquer Ukraine in like 3 to 6 months. So what Trump is most annoyed at is the incompetence of Vladimir Putin and the Russian military. He doesn't care about Ukraine. He's pissed off. 10 months into his presidency, he's still getting questions every single day. Why aren't you doing anything? You said you could end this war in 24 hours. So for Trump, he's disappointed in the Russians. He really respected Putin. He thought the Russian military and the Russian economy was very mighty. He believed Russian propaganda. So after 10 months of stalling, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, he finally got frustrated by being humiliated by the incompetence of the Russian military not even being able to take the entirety of the Donbass region. So what is Putin's reaction to all this? Putin says US sanctions serious, but won't significantly hit the economy. Russia is lying. And you know Russia is lying because as soon as the Treasury Secretary announced the sanctions, Putin made this guy get on a plane and fly to New York City. This is Dmitriev. I think his first name is Kirill. And this is him in New York City talking to anyone who's willing to talk to him to try and get these sanctions reversed. This is what Putin's envoy is saying. We see that it is Ukraine that is dragging out the negotiations, that it is Ukraine that does not want to resolve the problems, the accumulated issues that need to be addressed. And so we will also convey to our American colleagues that Ukraine, unfortunately, is disrupting the necessary dialogue, and it is disrupting it at the request of the British, at the request of the Europeans, who want the conflict to continue. The Russians are trying to argue that the reason why Russia cannot agree to Trump's ceasefire offer along the current front lines is because of Ukraine, because of Britain, because of the Europeans. It's everyone else's fault except Russia, why Russia cannot agree to a ceasefire today. This argument is so stupid, Donald Trump doesn't even believe it anymore. And these people are just weird. So when this Kirill guy showed up in New York City, he showed up with chocolate. Move over love hearts. Chocolates presented to Trump officials from Russia are emblazoned with Putin rants like, it's better to hit first. This is the actual box of chocolates that Russia's diplomats showed up to and started handing out to Trump officials. It's got Putin's face on it, and this is what the sayings are inside the box. Russia is a country that is not afraid of anything. The fewer teeth you have, the more you love porridge. Russia is not angry. Russia is concentrating. Russia's borders never end. I personally would not ingest anything that was produced by the Russian government. This seems like a trap, but is this supposed to, win people over? Let's check in with Kremlin State TV, and this is the latest clip from Russian Media Monitor. Vladimir Solovyov is apoplectic about the new sanctions. This is a word I don't even know. Apparently this means overcome with anger, extremely indignant. So Solovyov's not happy about Trump sanctioning Rosneft and Lukoil. Let's check in and see what he's saying. They've struck us with all the might they have. This isn't military might, because in this regard they don't surpass us in any way. It's their economic might. I think we should move on to a harsh escalation. Trump developed an opinion that he can pressure us, and nothing will be done in response. For this, we should clearly understand what kind of retaliatory measures can we undertake, not to hurt them, but to achieve the goals set by our Supreme Commander-in-Chief. In my opinion, we should move on from planned exercises to the unannounced use of tactical nuclear weapons, carrying out strikes on a number of targets that will be determined by the military to radically change the course of the war. Then I think we should freeze relations, we should recall our ambassador from the United States, and we should recall our ambassador from Great Britain. Trump canceled the meeting and said it will happen later. Why is Trump the one to determine this? Why is Trump saying, I want it or I don't want it? What happened several days after I want a meeting? That went to no, there won't be a meeting. We can't build relations this way. We're not interested in neurotic, hysterical US politics. There was no meeting because nothing was going to be announced. Nothing was going to be signed. Russia was going to agree to nothing and do nothing different. So this is a good thing. US is reportedly readying new sanctions as Russia stalls on Ukraine peace talks. The next round of sanctions that potentially Trump might announce will be on Russia's banking sector. If Trump was willing to go for the number one and number two oil companies, which Joe Biden was never willing to do, then perhaps, yes, the United States might sanction Russia's largest banks and completely cripple them overnight. This is what we want. This is what we're hoping for. But there's a problem. White House says Trump-Putin meeting not completely off the table. Trump is not committed to defeating Russia. Trump is not 100% supporting Ukraine. He still wants to do business with Putin and the Russians. And these sanctions are still just a negotiation tactic to get something from Putin, something from the Russians that looks like a win to Trump and his supporters. So this is a very fragile period. This is all good news, but Trump can undo it. He can taco out and just say sanctions are canceled. I hope not. Here's Jessica Berlin. U.S. sanctions against Russian oil are good news, but enjoy with caution. Trump didn't do it out of some new strategic enlightenment or solidarity with Ukraine. He did it because Putin pissed him off and made him look bad. The Trump pendulum will keep swinging back and forth. We're so close to getting these two guys to break up. This is the bromance from hell. We do not want these two men collaborating and coordinating on future projects. So it is very important that these sanctions stick and somebody reaches Trump and escalates. We need escalation in sanctions, in deliveries, in sales, whatever, so that Putin can't justify to his own people another meeting, another pointless, stupid, vanity meeting. All right, let's get to the good news. One piece, UK to build pilot batch of Octopus interceptor drones under a joint project with Ukraine. The first 1,000 drones will be manufactured in Britain before expanding production to meet Ukraine's battlefield needs. Zelensky went to the UK. There's going to be like a coalition of the willing meeting tomorrow. Here's General Zaluzny right there. And this is a Octopus interceptor drone. I'm guessing it's called that because it has 8 fins. But the United Kingdom is going to produce 1,000 of these. They're going to scale up production, do some testing, and then just start mass producing as many as they can for delivery to Ukraine. These are needed on the battlefield to take down surveillance drones as well as shooting down Shaheeds. Let's make it happen. Final video I have for you is just a cute Ukrainian child singing her own national anthem. That's a very pretty dress. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.